Why does Kunle have a receipt for a gold necklace? He never gifted me anything. This receipt is from this week at a store in the nearby village. Could he be cheating? Husband snatcher!
Aderonke found the receipt tucked inside Kunle's coat pocket 3 days before the festival, and for exactly 9 seconds, her world stopped spinning. It was dated from last Saturday, the day he had told her he was visiting his uncle in Ibadan, but the receipt was from a jewelry shop in Akoda village, barely 20 minutes away. A woman's necklace, an expensive one she had never received. She held the paper between her fingers, feeling its edges, trying to make it make sense. Anything else meant something, but there was no other explanation that made sense, and one that did made her chest feel hollow. 6 years ago, Kunle had been everything Aderonke hoped for. Patient during courtship, respectful to her family, ambitious but grounded. Their wedding was modest but joyful. He worked as a logistic manager, traveling occasionally for business, but always called when he was away. He was the kind of man many women would pray for. Little did she know that her husband was the opposite of everything he had painted himself to be, and over there in another village, there was another woman. 4 months ago, Zainab had met him at a cousin's wedding in Akoda village. She was a 31-year-old school teacher, cautious with her heart after too many disappointments. Kunle had approached her carefully, asked thoughtful questions, and admitted he had never been married because he refused to settle. He said he traveled during the week for work, but had weekends free. She believed him because nothing in his behavior contradicted his words. Now, holding that receipt, Aderonke finally understood why her husband was always so tired on Monday mornings. She folded the receipt carefully and placed it back where she found it. She would ask him tonight, she said to herself, calmly. There had to be a reason. But when Kunle came home that evening, smelling of shea butter and smiling that easy smile, she found herself saying nothing. He kissed her temple, asked about her day, and complimented the jollof rice before she would even serve it. Doubt felt like betrayal. Suspicion felt like ingratitude. So she swallowed the question and pretended the receipt didn't exist. What Aderonke didn't know was that in Akoda village, 20 minutes east, another woman was also pretending. Zainab stared at her phone, rereading Kunle's text for the 3rd time. Busy week. See you Saturday. Miss you. It was the same pattern. Monday through Friday, he would text sporadically, sweet messages, voice notes, occasional calls during his lunch breaks, but he was never available for surprise visits, never free for weeknight dinner, always working, always traveling, always just out of reach. But Saturdays and Sundays, he was completely present, attentive, romantic in fact. He would take her to restaurants in neighboring towns, but never in Akoda itself. I like our privacy, he would say, and it sounded thoughtful rather than suspicious. But lately, the gaps were starting to feel deliberate. Last weekend, she had suggested visiting him at his place, but he had laughed it off. It's a mess, he said. I'm barely there anyways. Let's go somewhere nice instead. When she asked where he lived, he'd been vague. Close to my office. You wouldn't like that area. It's industrial, he would reply. It sounded reasonable. It also sounded rehearsed. She tried looking him up online, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, but nothing. He claimed he didn't believe in social media. Too much drama, he would say. I prefer real connection. 3 months in, Zainab had asked him directly, have you been married? Kunle had laughed. Actually laughed. Zainab, if I had been married, don't you think you would have found out by now? Do I look like the kind of man who would hide a whole wife? His offense seemed genuine, but she felt embarrassed for asking. The doubt didn't leave. It just sat quieter. But back in Kunle's village, Mama Ejiro was there. Mama Ejiro was the kind of woman who heard everything because she talks to everyone. Some called her a gossip. Others called her a town crier without a drum. But Mama Ejiro preferred to think of herself as a concerned community member. If people didn't want her knowing their business, they shouldn't conduct it so loudly. And lately, she had been hearing things about Kunle. She had seen him in Akoda village 3 weeks ago, holding hands with a woman who was definitely not Aderonke. She had seen him again at a restaurant, laughing with that same woman. Separately, these sightings could mean anything, but together, they formed a picture. Mama Ejiro didn't have proof, but she had eyes. So one afternoon, while buying tomatoes from Aderonke's store, she spoke carefully. Aderonke, your husband is such a good man, oh. Always so busy, Abi. I'm sure he must travel often for work. Aderonke looked confused. He travels sometimes. Why? Oh, nothing, oh. I just thought I saw someone who looked like him in Akoda last weekend, but it couldn't have been him. Why would he be there on a Saturday? Aderonke's smile tightened. Maybe you saw someone else. Yes, that must be it. But the seed was planted. That evening, Aderonke mentioned it to Kunle, casually testing him. Mama Ejiro said she saw you in Akoda last Saturday. Were you there? Kunle didn't even pause. He laughed, shaking his head. That woman, She sees everyone everywhere. Last month, she swore she saw Pastor Benga at a beer parlor. That man doesn't even drink, oh. He reached out and squeezed Aderonke's hand. She's bored. Don't let her put foolishness in your head, oh. His calmness was disarming. Aderonke felt silly for mentioning it. Meanwhile, in Akoda, Mama Ejiro's words had traveled differently. A neighbor of Zainab's had heard the gossip and mentioned it offhand. I heard some man has been moving between women in different villages, so they say he's very smooth, comes only on the weekends. Zainab's stomach had twisted, but she said nothing. That night, she texted Kunle, "Do you ever go to other villages for work or anything?" His response came quickly. "Not really. Why? Are you missing me already?" She typed back, "Just curious." "You're not getting jealous, are you?" She forced herself to reply with a laughing emoji, but she was starting to wonder if jealousy was justified. The following Saturday, Kunle told Aderonke he had to work. Emergency meeting, he said. He'll be back by evening. Aderonke watched him leave. That receipt burning deep in her memory. That same afternoon, Kunle picked up Zainab and drove her to a restaurant 2 towns over. He held her hand across the table. He asked about her week. He was present, attentive, and perfect, in fact. But when his phone buzzed and he quickly silenced it, Zainab caught a glimpse of the caller's ID before the screen went dark. Ade, with a love emoji. Her heart stopped. "Who's Ade?" she asked casually. Kunle barely looked up. "Colleague, I'll call him back later." Him? He had said him, but the heart emoji suggested otherwise. The festival of the village was the largest event of the year, a 3-day market gathering where villages from across the region came to trade, celebrate, and show off. Aderonke attended with her sister on Saturday afternoon. Kunle had claimed he was traveling for work again, leaving Friday evening and returning Monday morning. She had stopped asking questions. The receipt still haunted her, but she had learned to carry her suspicions quietly. Zainab, on the other hand, attended with her cousins the same Saturday, her mind still pinning from the Ade and heart emoji contact she had seen. Kunle had texted her that morning saying he was tied up with family, but would see her on Sunday evening. She had agreed, but something felt very wrong. Neither women knew the other existed until the necklace. Aderonke saw it first. A thin gold chain with a small sapphire pendant resting against the collarbone of a woman browsing fabric at the next stall. The same necklace from the receipt. Her vision narrowed. Her pulse roared. She didn't think. She just moved. "Where did you get that?" Aderonke's voice was sharp, loud enough to turn heads. Zainab looked up, startled. "Excuse me? That necklace, where did you get it?" "It was a gift." "Why?" "A gift from who?" Zainab's confusion shifted to irritation. "That's none of your business." "Oh, it is my business, when it was bought with my husband's money." The word husband hit Zainab like a stone. Your husband? I don't know your husband. Then how did you get this necklace? How did you get his necklace? Aderonke shot back. People had begun to gather, circling, whispering. Mama Ejiro appeared from nowhere, eyes wide with delight. Zainab's face flushed. I don't know what you're talking about. My boyfriend gave this to me. Your boyfriend? Aderonke laughed bitterly. What's his name? Kunle, she said. The crowd gasped. Aderonke's face went cold. Kunle Adeyemi? Zainab hesitated. Yes, that's my husband now. For a moment, neither woman moved. The market noise fell away. Everything else became background. Then the anger came. So you're the one sleeping with my husband. Aderonke lunged forward and Zainab shoved back. Both women yelling, grasping, accusing. The crowd exploded into chaos. Some trying to separate them, others recording. Mama Ejiro narrating loudly for another who had missed the beginning. It took 4 people to put them apart. When the shouting finally died, they stood on opposite ends of the crowd, breathing hard, staring at each other with something closer to horror than rage. He told me he wasn't married, Zainab said, her voice shaking. Oh, he is, my dear, Aderonke said flatly. For 6 years he has been married. Zainab felt the ground tilt. He said he had never even been engaged. Aderonke laughed, but it sounded broken. He told me he was traveling for work this weekend. He told me he was with family, Zainab said. They stared at each other and slowly the truth assembled itself between them. Mama Ejiro, unable to contain herself, leaned toward a nearby woman and whispered loudly. I told people I saw him in both villages, but nobody believed me. Aderonke turned toward her slowly. So you knew. I suspected though, Mama Ejiro corrected. But what was I supposed to do now? People said I was just gossiping. Zainab's voice was quiet, hollow. How long have you been married, he said. 6 years, Aderonke repeated. I've been with him for 4 months, Zainab said. The crowd murmured. Someone cursed Kunle's name. Someone else suggested finding him immediately. But both women were silent now, processing. Zainab pulled out her phone with shaking hands. What's his number? Aderonke recited it, and it matched. Zainab scrolled through her messages, then turned the screen towards Aderonke. Is this him? Aderonke looked at the photo, Kunle, smiling, holding Zainab close. The same smile he gave her every morning. Yes. Zainab's next word came out broken. He said he hated liars. Aderonke nodded. He said the same thing to me. There was no dramatic confrontation at the festival. No public shaming. Kunle wasn't even there. Instead, both women left quietly, separately, carrying the weight of the truth. Zainab went home, blocked Kunle's number, and ignored the flood of texts that came from unknown numbers later that evening. Zainab, please, let me explain. It's not what you think. Just give me a chance to talk. She deleted all without reading past the first line. Aderonke returned to her house and began packing her things with calm precision. She said nothing to anyone. Not yet. When Kunle came home Monday morning, tired from his supposed work trip, carrying flowers and wearing that gentle smile, he found the house exactly as he had left it, except Aderonke was gone. No notes, no confrontation, just absence. He called her phone. It rang once, then went to voicemail. He called her sister. She told him coldly, she knows. Knows what? Everything, Kunle. She knows everything. The line went dead. He tried Zainab next. Blocked. Kunle stood in the center of his empty house, flowers still in his hand, trying to understand what had gone wrong. He had been so careful, so controlled. He had kept them separated. Different days, different villages, different lives. He had dismissed that gossip, managed the stories, never let them overlap. But he had underestimated that one thing he couldn't control. Women talking to each other. Mama Ejiro's voice, Zainab's question, Aderonke's suspicions, the necklace at the market, Separately, they were nothing. Together, they were everything. The truth hadn't come out from evidence. It had come out from noise, from the voices he had been so certain didn't matter. Months later, Aderonke ran into Zainab at another market. They had recognized each other immediately. There was a long pause. Then Zainab nodded. Aderonke nodded back. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They both understood that the loudest truth often comes from the quietest places, from whispers men dismiss, from gossip they mock, from women they underestimate. Sometimes, survival doesn't come from silence. It just comes from listening. This is the end of the story, besties. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from and what you think of the story. Until the next tale, see you.